no Kris Jenner. So NeNe was the star on Magazine. She was on a show called The New Normal, which was network TV. She appeared on Glee. Of course, she was on The Apprentice getting Trump checks. She is a staple, undeniable. Because she was just a regular person who was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, she really has suffered personally and professionally from not knowing exactly how to maneuver it. There were definitely some missteps, but also NeNe don't have no Kris Jenner. And speaking of Kris Jenner, let's go ahead and go on down to this.
You think you should be bigger than Kim Kardashian?
Absolutely. If not bigger, right there with her. I feel like they pushed Kim and they didn't push me. Kim came on after me, and they opened up every door and every opportunity for her, even putting us together at times and making her, much more bigger than me. She had North, obviously. I was at North baby shower with her and Kanye, but they pushed Kim to the front and pushed me to the back. And I don't think that was by chance. I think that was the way they wanted it to be. We were together because I was NeNe and I came out before her, and it just kind of looked good for us to be together. That's how I feel. Kris had a talk show. I co-host with Kris on the talk show. I just think that they made her more successful, and she was able to get opportunities and walk through doors that they just did not want me to walk through. She did Shoe Dazzle, I did Shoe Dazzle around the same time, and they just pushed her stuff forward, and they were always giving opportunities. And one other thing is that whenever we had businesses, it felt like we couldn't really show them that much on our show, but on their show, all they do is talk about their businesses, and all they do is talk about launching their makeup lines or their clothing lines or their whatever they're doing. And I don't feel like we were able to do that as much. So I just wasn't given the opportunities that she was giving.
She's not all the way wrong, but that assessment was not right. Okay, so whiteness absolutely helps the car. I mean, who can deny that? But it's whiteness, but it's also, look, momagers and dadagers play such important roles in the success of young people who have the capacity to be real, real famous. And Kim Kardashian does not become Kim. Kourtney doesn't become Kourtney, Khloe, Kylie, whoever, without a Kris Jenner mastermind. When you hear Kris Jenner talk about how after that sex tape dropped, she immediately switched into gear and was like, oh, this is my chance to show what I can. Like, she was rearing to show that she could be a businesswoman, a mogul. Like, I don't want to say a puppet master, but like, Kris had that in her. She didn't have that kind of support. And not only did she not have that kind of support, managerial support, career guidance, actually, the person closest to her now deceased husband, RIP, was actually real resentful of the fact that she was becoming a superstar. And of course, he's just a normal man, and the Kardashians had already kind of been orbiting Hollywood and entertainment and all that because Kris had managed Caitlyn's career. But he wasn't even really trying to be a supportive spouse. Greg Leakes wasn't even really trying to be like, oh, hey, you're a star now. Let me make your life easier. And NeNe talked about that in the interview. It's going to be real, real hard if you are a relatively normal person and then overnight you become a household name and your foundation ain't right. Your home ain't right. Your husband's resentful. You don't know which managers to sign with. She had a lot working against her in addition to the race stuff. And Kim had a lot working for her in addition to the race stuff. Being desirable in a way that not only appeals to Negroes, but appeals to white men. Easily commodifiable. That's the other thing. There is a link to an article in my notes called How the Kardashians Changed Everything. And did I talk about this when we talked about glamour labor in the age of Kim Kardashian? That one of the primary innovations of the Kardashians is the way that they were able to link themselves and their brands to consumerism and materialism in a way that aligns with the interests of everybody around them. So Ryan Seacrest is responsible for Keeping Up with the Kardashians on the air, wants to optimize every opportunity. So he saw the earning potential of them, but also the Kardashians, like Kim as an individual figure, and all of these people around her, they are also very attractive and ripe for people to want to invest in them because they are such good vehicles for selling things. They are experts at selling. And so that makes them more attractive. That makes people want to push them. Now, that's whiteness, that's desirability, that's the fact that Kim Kardashian is desperate. We just saw Kourtney call it out this season on the Kardashians. She is desperate, not only for money, but for validation. She will pick up every single check. I think NeNe was often distracted. Distracted because she had 2 kids, distracted because she had a husband who wasn't really trying to work with her, distracted because it's a lot when you are all of a sudden everybody knows your name. The Kardashians as a group, as a conglomerate, the Kardashian Jenners have been from the very beginning so good at controlling the narrative. Kris Jenner runs a tight motherfucking ship, and NeNe unfortunately let the narratives get away from her. That's my assessment of that. Yes, it's race, but it's so many other things. Anytime Kim, Kourtney, Khloe, Kylie, Kendall, anytime they step in some shit, they know how to flip it. They know exactly what kind of story arc they want to create. It takes so much strategy and maneuvering. It takes so much discipline. It's hard for folks who have so much other stuff to contend with to do that. I think there's some misogyny when people say like Kris is pimping out her daughters or whatever. I don't believe that all the way, but Kris is definitely an opportunist. And I don't even know if opportunism is always a bad word if money and fame and visibility are what you desire. You have to be an opportunist. I have a lot of Kris Jenner thoughts. But I think that something that does connect the Kardashian Jenners and what NeNe Leakes described happening to her behind the scenes in the Carlos King interviews is to be a reality star, you do have to sacrifice your family. And despite the Kardashians spending so much time trying to architect this image of all we have is family and we are close knit and we're so glad we have each other, there's definitely fractures in that family. And NeNe, unfortunately, right, we saw her marriage come apart and then they got back together. Her son right now is going through some stuff with regard to addiction. If you want to be great at exposing your life to the world, everybody in your orbit, they're gonna become products and casualties. And so that's the other thing that I kind of think about NeNe is she lonely? Does NeNe have friends? I remember recently she was in that kind of fake-ish relationship with, I don't know, whoever that man was. But the number one thing that I was concerned about is why this man always in the camera? Why is he always in the pictures? Yes, Rob said he wanted out and he's done. Yes. And I think that the only reason why Rob is not completely cut out is because the reason why Rob was able to say, I don't want to do this anymore, and Kris allowed him to take a step away from it is he's the only boy. He's the only way for that. I mean, if you're into that old school patriarchy shit, he is the only way for the Kardashian name to sustain itself, right? The single boy children get special privileges in families with lots of girls. I've seen this. I have seen this because we saw Courtney say, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I want to be a mom. And then like Chris is like, okay, well, we'll just stop the show. Courtney literally saying, hey, I want to take a step back is one of the primary reasons why that show on E ended. Now, it also was because of some contract negotiations. But if you really read the deep dives into it, Chris is like, oh, okay, well, we'll just reset and start a new show. The only Black person that I can think of that was up there with Chris as a manager is Mr. Matthew Knowles. And him and Tina worked. The Matthew and Tina duo, we don't get Beyonce without Matthew. We don't. And if we're talking about commitment to a narrative and discipline, Beyonce independently is extraordinarily disciplined. It's the stuff of legend. But when I talk about discipline, I mean the discipline to chart the path and stick to the plan. Oh, you're right. You're right, Tatiana. Joe Jackson. You're right. Chart the path and stick to the plan. Usher's mom. Okay. I love this. I love this. Yes. Usher's mom Usher did not let go of his mom as a manager until after the Confessions era, right? Yeah. Usher's mom. You're right. Because Confessions is the highest selling R&B album of all time. I'm an Usher stan, but let's move on. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked here. But yes, I think it's really unfortunate that NeNe, with all of her gifts, has not been able to harness that into something that can really sustain herself. NeNe gotta work. Let's listen to NeNe talk some more about the current season. Okay. Start over.
Do you think Kandi's overrated and overpaid?
I do. I think that Kandi is not exciting. I just don't think she's I don't think the camera loves her. I just don't think I think the camera loves her family, but I don't think they love her. And so I don't think the viewers or anybody would ever see Kandi as much as they want to make Kandi like the star, and she's been there for 100 years and she is her. I don't think not one person tunes in and believes that. Mm-hmm. I believe everybody tuned in and be like, okay, there's Kandi. Okay, now what's going on? Where's Kenya? Okay, where's next? I don't think that anybody tunes in and be like, oh my God, she's just bringing it and she's so everything. I think people look at it and they be like, okay, next. I don't think anybody is like that with it. I just don't. And I have to go a step further and say, I believe that production and the network wanted it to be that way. I think that they wanted girls on these shows who did not have the it factor. I said years ago that most of these girls have the I, but they do not have the T.
That's fun, you guys. That's funny. Even in those 2 minutes, there were a couple of quotables in there. Again, spot on. She was spot on about Kandi. Kandi is extraordinarily strategic and disciplined. But is she a star? Kandi is good at execution. And one thing we see over and over again is execution beats talent. Execution beats star power. And I don't watch Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore, but I do watch Speak on It because I like hearing the commentary. I like hearing the backstage. I'm not watching Speak on It because I'm like, oh my God, Kandi. I'm just like, I like the mess. And I think she found a really good, interesting way to deliver mess. Now, it's kind of veering with the bartender stuff into a ripoff of Watch What Happens Live, so let's not do that. But it's such a good idea. Kandi is an ideas woman. I like that about her. Kandi said on the last edition of Speak on It with Cynthia Bailey, and we'll play clips from that later, but she said that nobody in the cast is responsible for dethroning NeNe. That the only person who ever could have dethroned NeNe was NeNe. And baby, she hit the nail on the motherfucking head. NeNe was the cause of her own downfall. It was her own hubris, her own missteps, mismanagement, her own messiness. But Kandi, of course, bless Kandi's heart, because even in the clapback she be trying to do, I'm like, girl, it's not giving. But she just recently was on a radio show where she addressed this, so we can watch a little bit of that.
I gotta ask you what you think about this, because when she did her interview, it was not the same tone. It was Kandi's born. She was never the star. And I'm just like,
but then she put me in her lineup. I think this is so crazy. So I didn't see the part 2 of that interview. I did see the part 1, but in the part 2, apparently people say that she went in on me saying that I'm boring.
Not excited.
She said that she said I didn't deserve the money that I get.
I don't know.
No, I didn't hear that part.
I thought you not excited and you're not to start the show as you want to be and everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to say, that's because I'm rich, bitch.
That's what you say. Well, I mean,
very rich. Very
okay.
rich.
I'm just like, regardless of what she or anybody thinks about me, I'm just gonna say it. I'm winning.
Yeah.
You are.
I'm winning.
That's our
I've been doing
hashtag.
this.
No, but that's our hashtag. We talk about that all the time. That's our hashtag. Hashtag win. Hashtag win.
I go hard to go home for everything
Still
that I'm a
win.
part of, every project that I'm a part of. Whether if you say I'm boring or I'm not this, I'm not that. I've been continuing to win at things before she ever even thought about being on TV.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My group was winning. I was in 12th grade with a #1 hit record that
She bought a house at 19.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I was the first woman to ever win Songwriter of the Year. You know what I'm saying? I was the first woman to ever win Masked Singer.
Okay.
For everybody who want to say I can't sing. I mean, you know what I mean? Real talk. You know what I mean? And I am the longest running housewife on any franchise.
I was waiting for you to say it.
14 seasons straight. So wherever you feel about me, but people need to understand when it comes to reality TV, one person cannot make a show. So a lot of people get mad because we have had so many special spinoffs and stuff like that. But it's because I'm by myself an ensemble cast by myself. You see my family, whether it be my mama, who's a star, my husband, that stuff going on, my kids,
The aunties.
whether it be my aunts, whether it be the restaurant, everybody that's on, work for me in the restaurant, the Candy Coated Clique, Don Juan, Carmen, it's like they are stars around. Like I come with people who are ready to participate in my life and let it be seen by the world. So it doesn't matter if you don't just like me, it's everything that comes with me.
That makes it a thing.
Yeah, and I'm okay with everybody in my team shining.
Yes.
Now, some certain people want to shine by themselves.
Yeah.
And that is the problem when they think they're outshining everyone else, and then when you go outside of them, everyone else, and you see you ain't shining as bright. That be the problem, and that's all I got to say about that. I think people need to understand that when it comes to reality TV, even though one person on the show may be your fave or whatever, but that person can't do it by themselves.
Like I said, the cast is ensemble.
Yeah,
It's an ensemble.
And you got the luxury to be
situation.
born, for real. Okay, some people don't have that.
Okay. Now look, Kandi the businesswoman came through. Kandi the producer came through, because the defense of, I'm not boring, I won the Masked Singer. I'm not boring, I won ASCAP Songwriter of the Year. Girl, bye. We don't care, babe. But the commentary after that is so good, so astute. When I mentioned earlier, does NeNe have friends? She seems lonely. Who is she talking to every day? When Kandi said, okay, so I'm boring, I'm the name, but I have this whole universe around me. I had this messy hookup with my husband in 9 years. I got the drama with my husband, my mama calling my husband broke in public. And then my mama's messy sisters. And then I got Don Juan messy ass. And then my mama tried to find my best friend Carmen. And then I have these businesses that are kind of shaky, kind of doing okay, but all these random people, right? It's the Kandi universe that is compelling. If you don't have the ability to maintain relationships, you are also not going to be able to sustain yourself. And so if we think about the connection between, because Kim Kardashian is also kind of boring. She's pretty, but Kim brought a whole universe of people. And then we had, Kourtney and Scott going back and forth. And then we had Chloe and Lamar. And then Chloe and Tristan. And it's all of this stuff. And then, Rob is depressed. Rob is dating Adrienne Bailon, and then they break up, and then, right? It's all of this. And so, as correct as NeNe was about Kandi just not popping on screen, girl, Kandi was so right about, but I bring so much else to the table.